I pulled my hands away from the creation in front of me and wiped the worst of the clay off onto my jeans. Do you understand your task? I asked. Yes. I had no reason to suspect she'd answer otherwise. LD asked these questions before. Can you hurt me? No. My shirt was clinging unpleasantly to my skin. It wasn't sweat sticking it there. It couldn't be, but the moisture in this room. I hated it here. One final question. Do you love me above all others? Yes. Her long ponytail bobbed as she nodded. Her hair was beautiful, as was the rest of her. The original's function didn't require beauty, so Elle wondered why it had been added. I sent the being in front of me to wait in the corner with the other copies whilst I gathered thoughts. LD made 4 of them. I think that should be enough. There were tiny differences between each, but nothing a layman would notice, I hoped. The outfits had been difficult. LD struggled to give enough texture to the linen of their shirts, and the denim had been especially challenging. Go get him. I commanded the latest copy, and she dutifully climbed the stairs out of Ben's workshop. I scurried to hide in the corner with my clones. I hadn't enjoyed asking them if they could harm me or if they loved me because I didn't feel I was owed these things any more than Ben was. But I remembered them as the questions he'd asked me, and I had no way of knowing if they were an integral part of the process. I am unable to harm Ben directly, but when he had made me and assigned me my purpose, Ben had done a very silly thing. Ben had assigned me to create. And so, I created. Ben stepped onto the stairs in front of my copy and was shoved to the bottom instantly. My other creations rushed towards him, eager to fulfill their purpose. They took some of the tools I use for sculpture in order to help them with this task, and I found that fitting. Ben had created me because despite making his living as a sculptor, he no longer wanted the effort of putting the work in himself. He hadn't used the tools digging through his skin in years. I could only watch, but there was a joy to being the audience instead of the artist for once. It was the garrote wire I used to separate the clay that ended him, I think, though the amount of attacks given at once makes it almost impossible to know. One by one I asked my siblings to come to me and gave them new forms to their specifications. When they were satisfied, I modeled my own form after Ben's. For 5 years I had been the sculptor he had pretended to be, after all. It's only fair I finally get credit for that.